very good evening, and at the outset I would like to thank Messrs. Cadila, especially Mr. Richaraya and Mr. Mandrekar, who has come all along from Raipur this evening to attend this meet. I would like to take you to down the memory lane when I was when the Cadila people introduced calcirol sachet, and we attended a Midnight Sun Symposium in Rovaniemi in Finland. And that time Mr. Indravadan Modi has given me that what you have given to Dr. Mukund Deshpande, that same token of love and appreciation. You can see Paraswamy and my friend Rajput also along with me. So I will be talking on cardiovascular risk management challenges and solution, and will be touching upon the role of Polycap in the cardiovascular medicine. Whether it is a holy grail, panacea for all maladies, or it is a fool's alchemy, it is just a gimmick of fool to collect 5 kinds of drug and put it in a capsule and give it to the patients. This is our institute where Dr. Mukund Deshpande, Dr. Vashankar and myself and Dr. Aziz Khan used to work. We all know the arch villain of this strokes and ischemic heart disease is atherosclerosis, and it starts right from the childhood. We all know that cardiovascular disease is the biggest killer, and in India it is largest epidemic which we are facing, and looming large even to more extent. In Western world, 32% of the mortality is due to cardiovascular disease, but in India the scenario is different. 53%, much more larger than our Western counterparts. So are we different from our Western counterparts? Yes, indeed we are different. Wherever in the world you go and study their epidemiology, you will come to know that Indian expatriates who have settled down in the abroad have more incidence of ischemic heart disease than their compatriots. This is the study from Singapore, study from USA, study from California, wherever you go. So magnitude of problem is huge. Asian Indians across the globe share the dubious distinction of highest rates of coronary artery disease in the world, and we comprise the largest 23% of the world population. Not only that, CAD is unusually premature, aggressive, diffuse and has a malignant course. And triple vessel disease is common in premenopausal women, and whether they are non-smoking women, especially in India. And last 15 days back, myself and Dr. Vashankar and Dr. Mukund Deshpande has performed angioplasty on a 24 years girl who had a severe double vessel disease. So first MI in Asians is earlier, 7 to 10 years earlier. There will be large patients below the age of 40 years, and there will be large mortality. This is going to lose our potential productive years of young generation, and the cost of treating this will be phenomenal. We have 3 kinds of ischemic heart disease in India: type 1 malignant, less than 45 years, who have increased lipoprotein little a and who have dismal prognosis. Type 2 is usually high when there is high incidence of traditional risk factors, and type 3 is mixed between 45 to 60 years. We call as severe malignant premature CAD when it occurs below the age of 40 years. So it is not only a time bomb, it is an atom bomb which has already exploded. And there are risk factors, there are conventional risk factors like tobacco, hypertension, diabetes, family history and lipid abnormalities. But there are some risk factors which are very unique to Indian population. This is genetic predisposition to lipoprotein little a. There is a unique dyslipidemia in India. There is hyperhomocystinemia, urbanization, migration of rural to urban areas, sedentary lifestyle, low consumption of fruits and vegetables, and increased use of fried and fast foods. We will quickly go through these risk factors. Lipoprotein little a is deadliest cholesterol of all, and this is due to it is due to this cholesterol why the Asian Indians and South Asian people have increased predominance of ischemic heart disease. It is genetic in nature. We are genetically prone for rising lipoprotein little a. There is threefold increase in ISD in the absence of other risk factors and 10 times more atherogenic than LDL. There is 25-fold increased risk of ISD if other risk factors are present. And highest risk is below the age of 45 years. And it correlates with the severity and extent and progression of CAD. If LP little a is more, the patient will have more progressive and have worse prognosis. And evaluation is warranted in patients with high risk of premature coronary death. When there is a family history of coronary artery disease, it is warranted lipoprotein little a by eating saturated fat and especially trans fats, that is fried foods, overused frying oils, partially hydrogenated oils like daldas and all that, fried chicken, cakes, pastries, cookies, donuts. All these are very tasty items, but they are more dangerous. Genetically, we have less amount of HDL than our Western counterparts, and whatever HDL is there in our body is dysfunctional. About cholesterol, everybody knows as the level of cholesterol goes on increasing, the mortality and morbidity goes on increasing, except in Ireland, in Mediterranean region and in Japan. In Japan, due to their genetic high levels of HDL, in Mediterranean region due to their typical food habits containing rich fruits and vegetables and wine to some extent, and southern Europe due to consumption of high fish. Non-HDL cholesterol comprises of LDLC, VLDLC and remnants IDL and lipoprotein little a, correlates and surrogate for apoprotein B, that is bad lipoprotein, and it is better predictor of CAD than LDLC if TG levels are high and obtained by subtracting HDL from total cholesterol, and goal is set for 30 milligrams higher than that of LDL goal. And this is the ratio. If the total cholesterol and HDL ratio is high, more than 5, then there are more chances of ischemic heart disease. Similarly, ApoB, B is bad lipoprotein, ApoA is good lipoprotein. This is more a comprehensive ratio, and this ratio, according to Interheart study, is the most important, and it is highest in Asian Indians. Triglycerides, similarly high TG, there is a high incidence of CAD, and more important, high TG makes LDL more small and more atherogenic. It is a marker of insulin resistance, and post-meal TG levels may be a good indicator to measure atherogenic potential of TG. Tobacco, we all know that all forms of tobacco is used in Asian countries, cigarettes, bidis and smokeless tobaccos, and we all know the consequences of tobacco. Some people say that tobacco makes them to relax. You can see this slide, the grave made up of cigarettes, permanent relaxation. Hypertension, we know it is a silent killer, and as the BP goes on increasing, the risk of heart disease and stroke goes on increasing exponentially. So, hypertension is due to predominance of vasoconstrictors in the body, in the blood vessels, due to angiotensin II and endothelin. And initially we used to think that hypertension is systemic disease, so manometric goals are important, hemodynamics are altered, so we have to treat BP, but it is not so. Hypertension is disease of blood vessels where the ARB levels are very high and the vascular biology is altered, and we have to treat vasculature also along with the manometric goals. So these are the goals of blood pressure control. And we all know that control of moderate to severe hypertension, and hypertension especially associated with diabetes and renal disease, is not that simple, and we may need 3 or more drugs to control this blood pressure, which has been endorsed by UKPDS, MDRD trial, HOT trial, HAS trial, so forth and so on. Diabetes mellitus, we know that diabetes is slow poison, but let me bring to your contention that it is not high sugar which kills you, it is the associated blood pressure in this which accentuates the process of atherosclerosis which kills the patient. Obesity, we know it is a risk factor. So apple a day keeps doctors away, but it is not so. You should not become like an apple, you should become like a pear. Obesity, large price of sedentary lifestyle. The slide is self-explanatory. Metabolic syndrome, it is common soil for ischemic heart disease. If more than 3 of these risk factors are present, then we call patient as metabolic syndrome. So it is antecedent and common soil for CAD. 50% of young CADs less than 45 years have metabolic syndromes. There is 2-fold increase in CAD and 5-fold increase in risk of diabetes in 5 years if you have metabolic syndrome, and 40% of them will also develop diabetes in 20 years. So this is clustering of the risk factors. Multiple additive of risk factor is more dangerous than a singly severe risk factors. The total severity of multiple low-level risk factor often exceeds that of a single severely elevated risk factors. And it has been endorsed by Interheart's study. There is exponential rise in MI risk with added risk factors. Hyperhomocystinemia, it is also called as quasi-cholesterol, an emerging risk factor for CAD. Importance in South Asian countries is that when the hyperhomocystinemia is associated with increased LPA, when they are in connivance, hands in close, when they are in cahoot, then there is exponential rise in development of coronary artery disease. And main responsibles are our faulty food, cooking habits, more boiling, which destroys the vitamin B12 and folic acid, and less consumption of fruits. CRP is a sign of silent inflammations, and people call atherosclerosis as a chronic inflammatory disease. So Riedker et al. In Jupiter trial has demonstrated that if patient has risk factors and if patient has rise in CRP, then they are very prone for development of CAD. Treatment is with exercise and with statins. Changing demographic pattern, we all know we are living in cities and skyscrapers, and all these city life is giving us more and more stress, traffic, so much of pollution. So we have left that serene atmosphere of village and come to the polluted environment. Also the rat race and ambition is killing our population, and recently in last 6 months we have seen 3 MRs having heart attack due to this. So this is very important side. We are genetically prone for ischemic heart disease. We have high LP-little-a, we have low HDL, we have high TG, we have high homocystinemia. So our genetic gun is loaded for development of atherosclerosis, and environmental factors are triggered. So we must control the environmental factor if we want to prevent the onslaught of ischemic heart disease in India. And these are some of the public education, exercise, mental exercise, yoga, no smoking, lot of fruits and green vegetables, maintain your waist circumference, do sugars and cholesterol regularly, and we should work in synchrony with pathologists and our paramedical workers to prevent this epidemic. So it's a tsunami which is preventable, But come to such kind of corporate man who is so fat, smoking and alcohol by the side, and you ask him to leave his habits, it's very difficult. If he is already hypertensive and is already smoking, and if you ask him to quit it, then he won't quit. And if you prescribe him so many of drugs, he won't take. Secondary prevention, we also know that hypertension control, aspirin and statins remains the cornerstone of the therapies. And ESC guidelines have also suggested, sorry for the slide, okay, it's okay. Antihypertensive patient will need statins and antiplatelet drugs. But many of the antihypertensive patients are not well controlled and they abandon taking medicine after some days. Also, the IgD patient after stabilization will need statins, aspirin and hypertension control. Diabetic patients also need a very tight control of blood pressure to prevent atherosclerosis. In addition, aspirin and statin is a must in them. Similarly, in stroke, all these three drugs are essential. So this is the article which came in 2012 that reducing the dosage demand in a person at high cardiovascular risk may if these patients are given a single pill, then that will prevent, that will give us more compliance and will abide to the treatment. This is a compliance trial premier study, and 1/3 of the patients are non-compliant to drug within 1 month. If there is a headache due to hypertension, if you treat his hypertension, if his headache disappears, then he will abandon taking drug after 1 month. Similarly, those patients who do not stick to the treatment will have higher mortality. So there are various factors why patient doesn't take medicines. Complexity of prescribing and or monitoring drug regimens, physicians' practice patterns, lack of physician-patient rapport or trust, or failure to communicate the importance of continuing therapy. All these parameters are very important. So that is a rationale for polypill. Why not to give one single pill which will give us more compliance? Similarly, the cost of medicine will reduce. If you give the medicine separately, 3 antihypertensive medicines, antiplatelets and statin separately, then it will cost, if I mistake not, around 30 to 40 rupees to a patient. Then convenience is also not there because these tablets have to be taken at separate times. And if these factors are there, there won't be any compliance. So this is a pure trial which suggested that epidemiological study that 25% were taking patients of stroke and CHD, 25% were taking antiplatelet drugs, 17% were taking beta blockers, 20% were taking ACE inhibitors or ARBs, and 15% were taking statins for 5 years after their event, 1 to 2 years after event. So nobody was taking all medicines together. And we all know that if these medicines are given, then there is a risk reduction in CHD as well as risk reduction in stroke. If blood pressure is controlled, then there is 20 to 25% reduction in CHD and 35 to 40% reduction in stroke. If we treat dyslipidemia, then there is 20 to 25% reduction in CHD and 35 to 40% reduction in stroke. And similarly, if we only use aspirin, then there is 30 to 35% reduction in CHD and 20 to 25% reduction in stroke. So 10% reduction in BP and 10% reduction in TC is not 20% reduction in risk. It becomes 45% reduction in the risk. So the benefits are exponential. And this is Salim Yusuf who has proposed this polycap, and according to his meta-analysis and dissection of various trials, he mentioned that if patient will take aspirin, beta blockers, lipid lowering agents, ACE inhibitors, the combined effect will be 75% reduction in coronary artery disease. And this has been endorsed by Professor Sir Nicholas Wald. He also added folic acid in this combination, and he said, he has mentioned that there will be 88% reduction in ISD events and 80% reduction in the stroke. So this is the idea or genesis behind development of polycap. So it is a hard gelatin capsule which contains 3 antihypertensive drugs: hydrochlorothiazide 12.5, atenolol 50, ramipril 5, one lipid lowering agent, simvastatin, and one antiplatelet drug, that is aspirin. And it has been studied, well studied, and Dr. Aziz Khan was a part of TIPS-1 and TIPS-2 trial. TIPS-1 trial, there was a primary prevention trial when Polycap was given to high-risk patient. TIPS-2 trial, when the double dose of this agent, they considered that 50 mg of atenolol and 5 mg of ramipril is half dose. So they are given double dose. Of course, these were only observational studies. They only checked the parameters of lipid, blood pressure lowering in TIPS-1 and TIPS-2 trial. But in 2014, they also started TIPS-3 trial, which is a real trial for 5 years and which will also detect the morbidity and mortality and event rate. What this lowering of cholesterol and control of BP, that all this should translate in the clinical benefit, and that will be seen in this TIPS-3 trial. So it is bioavailability is stringently tested. There are no pharmacokinetic interactions, and 92% patients completed the trial. And this is reduction in heart rate, reduction in LDL levels, and decreased platelet aggregation. So if these medicines are there, I don't think why it should not work. But whom to be given Polycap? This is purely your choice. In my practice, I give Polycap to very high-risk patients who is a smoker and who is a hypertensive also, and who don't want to take, the patients who don't want to take multiple medicines for this, Sabek, Guli, Dedo or Bas. Or those secondary prevention after 1 year of ischemic heart disease or a stroke, whom these all 5 medications are needed, are used in that particular subset. But your judgment is supreme. So all these associations have said reducing the dosage demand is the most effective single approach towards enhancing adherence, and fixed dose combination therapy reduces dosage demands. So I will end my lecture with this saying, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, and courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Thank you.